Hey, I'm Jack. This is a snippet of my portfolio showcasing some of my 3D environment work that I've done both during the MA and before the MA. And through this presentation, I want to talk a bit about why I'm drawn to games art, 3D especially, and what it entails, and to finish on, I hope, where to go after the MA. Most of my memories I have playing games as a kid are either connected to my brothers or my dad, and so when I try to remember playing these games, I picture them as these luscious and vibrant worlds, when in reality they are very primitive. But in these memories that have stuck with me throughout this journey, and it's part of this what's inspired me to pursue games as a career. My SNU project has been a rollercoaster so far, evolving from an ambitious thing centered around a global online challenge to what is now a more palatable idea focused on experimentation. The image on the left shows early development on the challenge piece, and on the right is some recent work using Marvelous Designer. More on that later. Grand Space Opera Light Age. This was the challenge I had initially planned to participate in. It's hosted by ArtStation, which is a hub for creative media portfolios, from students to professional artists working in the games of VFX. I was drawn to this because of the potential exposure I'd have as an artist pursuing a job in games. My projects looked at an alternative Earth with the inhabitants living in vast growing pods. I looked at the barley rice fields and the old trees with exposed roots for my initial reference. As much as I enjoyed the project, my submission didn't get very far before realizing that I was stretching myself far too thin. When combined with the work for ASU2, I didn't feel like I'd be putting my best work forward, and the challenge and thus the end result wouldn't be the best representation of me. Changing my ASU2 wasn't an option either, since I was really enjoying the project so much, and was excited to where photogrammetry would take me next. My project evolved into a large-scale 3D environment scene of an American diner, looking at the photography work of Frank Bobot for lighting, colour, shape and reference, with a new focus on learning new skills in order to achieve that realistic look of quality in the reference. I found new software being used in games that I wanted to explore. Houdini is one of those programs, and it has a focus on procedural modelling. Procedural meaning a method of creating data algorithmically as opposed to manually, and Marvelous Designer is a second with a focus on simulated fabrics. By utilizing this, I could make realistically simulated creasing and folds in the materials of furniture and clothes that could be used in games. On the left is one of the books I read through for this unit, and it's about production pipelines, and I was able to rethink where I wanted to be in games industry and what part of the production pipeline I wanted to be a part of post the MA. And coupling that with joining the huge professional games art community experience points, I realized I had a lot of learning and understanding to undertake. The goal was to have a portfolio piece at the end, with the more pieces I showcased, the better. But when I asked myself why, I realized the focus should be on learning, experimenting, but eventually understanding the programs instead of only scratching the surface of them. If I became proficient in them, I can always take advantage of them in my master's project. One of the things I love about games is being able to get lost in the new fantastical worlds, exploring at my own discretion and pace, and experimenting with new mechanics and tools provided in the world. I want to bring some of that creative wonder into my own work and find a way to get lost in the process of learning, and my lust for new knowledge surrounding games art is exactly what adjusted my project. My plan at this point was to go ahead with the Frank Bobot inspired theme for my master's project instead of the SNU, and I'll be looking at the mentioned programs Houdini and Marvelous Designer, combined with learning material trim sheets for games in order to create tools and 3D models that will act as a foundation for the masters. The change in direction worked for SNU great alongside my ASU2, where I was looking into the 3D scanning technique called photogrammetry. I take, in some cases, hundreds of pictures from all possible angles of an object, and from those I can create a 3D model of the object. This was a brand new technique for me and will feed nicely into my master's unit. Houdini took a while for me to get my head around. I had to fundamentally change how I created art. In this clip I made an example Lego brick generator that I could adjust parameters and change the width and height, but by doing so, I can change how the model looks and reacts to the changes. Looking specifically at how I can use Houdini for the diner scene, I thought of bottles and pots that are scattered around the place. And normally my approach would be to make these all individually, but by making a generator I can save a lot of time not only on creating, but the iteration changes various elements of these. My endeavour into Marvelous Designer was super fun and insightful. As you can see in the video, I'm able to manipulate the cushion with the realistic reactions to creasing and movement, and I can freeze these positions and export them as individual assets. That is incredibly useful for me making realistic props for games. The result of my marvellous work ended up being one of the bar stools in the diner scene. I was happy with the level of detail I was able to get out of the model with ease, and taking the time to learn this program and go the extra mile to incorporate it into my ProGrudge was awesome, and I'm glad I took the time to do that. The final element of my unit was trim sheets. Using singular material textures to multiply objects can be incredibly useful. For the image here I show work that I did in an indie game prior to the MA that all used trim sheets. I had little time to experiment with this aspect due to the balance of SNU and ASU2 becoming hard, and with the pubs reopening I had less time for uni work. It's a shame I haven't had the time to look deeper into the trim sheets. However, I was able to explore some of the textures that might be used for trim sheets in the scene, and one of the main takeaways of this unit has been to appreciate the importance of learning and exploration, and I hope to continue my research after this unit. The Masters project will be a culmination of my work throughout this academic year, creating an American diner using some techniques, tools, and models demonstrated in this unit and ASU2. One of my goals is to help create unforgettable memories for others with games, and I feel that when I apply what I have learned from this unit, I can achieve that.